let the weed float around the circle. Oh, 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 till the herb come on my way. Oh, till the herb come on my way. Oh, till the herb come on my way.
Hey y'all, this is Callie here. Welcome to Yes We Cannabis, which is going to be a show of sorts where I'm going to talk about the journey into medical marijuana and just about the history, about like what it is, and also just to kind of explain my personal experience with it. So to start, I'm going to give you kind of a background of who I am. My name's Callie. I grew up in Vegas. I come from a very traditional middle class white American family. It's kind of the best way to explain kind of my approach or like my understanding within like the belief system that I was raised in around cannabis. And, I remember I was that era, DARE was coming to our schools. They had that dope ass briefcase where they opened it up and they had all of those fake drugs in it. To be honest, they kind of made them look kind of like sick. So I think maybe they didn't quite do what they were hoping it was going to do. But anyway, I just remember, drugs are bad. DARE, we were part of it. I had my little DARE shirt, and cannabis was a part of that then. We're talking like the 90s into like the early noughts. But it wasn't really something that was talked about in my house. I didn't really know. There wasn't anybody in like my family circle or anybody that really utilized cannabis. And, it was the 90s. Like I said, white girl, middle class, living in Vegas. Although, I mean, to be in Vegas, you're around a lot of other different things. So I think it was just on, it's something that was on my peripherals, but never in front of me. But, I will say I also come from the performance world. I have my degree in acting. And I'm a stage performer, or that is what I have done in the past. I am many things these days. But in that world, in the creative world, you do find a lot more people utilizing cannabis. Like a lot of people who use it recreationally just to have fun, like partying, but also a lot of people who use it in regards to their own personal creativity. So it was something that I was very much around, and it became a lot more normalized for me. And, also like growing up, you learn things about the world, and you start just understanding that certain things do not need to be like feared as they should, especially, us millennials. I think are growing up in a very specific time where we have so much like information right at our fingertips. We grew up with the internet, so we could look anything up basically. We figured out how to use the internet before anybody else figured out how to use it. So I think we just have that ability to research things that we are actually interested in. So that's kind of my general exploration of cannabis. It was just kind of in my peripherals. I've had some roommates that have used it very regularly, and I loved being in the house with them, like vibing, because even if I wasn't smoking it myself, you're still getting that little secondhand vibe. So it's always a good time. Also, it's very fun to be hang out with people who are stoned, because we're just having the best time. I promise you. But I remember even then thinking, what? When my time is to like try cannabis or smoke cannabis, I know it will find me. And lo and behold, it sure freaking did. So flash back to 2020, world shuts down. Both of my jobs shut down. I was about to open a new musical, and we shut down on opening night, basically. And then I had a server job, like a survival job, and that also shut down. Surprise, surprise. Both of my industries deemed unnecessary, but I freaking get it. We're in a global pandemic. And because of it, I just kind of started to explore a lot of other options that maybe I hadn't thought of before, because suddenly I had nothing but time for myself. My life went from crazy, crazy busy to just, you get to build your day, but you build your day around your home. And for me, that was something that was not a normal experience. Just because I was go. My life was incredibly busy. It was just busy. That's the best way to put it. But through it, my exploration came, because I live in a really incredible house now, and everybody who lives here utilizes cannabis, at least in some way, some of us more than others, but I would say it's a stoner house for sure. Let's go. It's a vibe. We love a stoner house, especially here in Seattle. But I just remember like being around it, and one day I was like, why not? why not give it a go? So I started my little journey with Journeyman, which are it's one of the companies up here that makes edible cannabis products. I fucking love Journeyman. If you are somebody who likes Journeyman, shout out, let's go. They slap the shit out of you sometimes. But I remember, like, I was like, I'm not ready to smoke it yet. I will try it in edible form though, because I was like, I'm a singer, I can't smoke, all that jazz. I mean, there's a lot of merit to it, but for me, that is not a priority. It doesn't matter. Also, let's go, husky smoking voice. Anyway, pause, rewind. Yes. So I started with edibles, and I remember, I guess I'll like picture the first time that I really started to sit in and understand what it meant to feel high. Um, it is a wild experience when you haven't experienced it before, and it can be very overwhelming. But when you can find a way to sit into it, there is something so deeply grounding about experiencing like a really great high from cannabis that you can't help but have a good time, because you're just going to be present and you're going to have a good time in anything and doing anything and with anyone. And also like just sitting and watching your cats, it becomes 20 times more entertaining. But I just remember I just kind of started dabbling a little bit more and a little bit more. And then I started really, you started maybe I would like once a week, twice a week, I would have half an edible, half a 10 milligram edible and call it good. And just kind of as the pandemic went on, things just, they go as you expect them to go in many ways. But I think a big part of my like kind of tumble or like free fall into stoner life comes from when I was working on farms or working with local farmers in a farmers cooperative here in Washington State, because when all my jobs went away, I needed to find a new job through COVID, and I had always wanted to experience that world. I've been very passionate about like environmentalism and just understanding that so much goes into like feeding our country, that I was like, I would just like to experience what that is, because I'm very passionate about like local agriculture. And I started volunteering at a farm. When they paid me in vegetables, I would work for like half a day, and that led me to work at this farmers cooperative. But all this to say, doing that kind of labor is very exhausting. Doing that kind of like physical labor, it's a lot of stamina. You're building some muscles, but it is hard fucking work. I'll tell you that much. Honestly, if you want to be humbled, go volunteer for like one day at one of your local farms and you will be humbled. I'll tell you that. But in a really great way. You kind of fall in love with it. I mean, I did, but I'm also a hippie bitch. What can I say? Anyway, so when it comes with a lot, if you're doing something that comes with a lot of like aches and pains, if you're using your body a lot, you get pretty sore, you get tired, and as you age, your body starts to get the wear and tears, and it's just a little harder to recover. And that's when I really started to understand the medicinal properties that cannabis has. When you start, a lot of the time when you start exploring it, you're not picking it up to be like, I'm going to use this as medicine to help me do and feel better in this and help with my inflamed muscles, all that jazz. Some people do, and like, fuck yeah to those who can. We love that. But for me, it was a new discovery, and that was definitely probably the tipping point. And once I finally shared my first joint, sitting in a nice circle with all my other hippie buddies, I was like, cool, all right, that's dope. And kind of the rest was history. It's been a really incredible journey, just starting to understand how important it is to take care of myself, because, when you go back to thinking about like you're working your body really hard, as I was on the farms, it's important to be able to sustain that. And I've also worked in so many jobs where I haven't had health care because they do not provide health insurance. I definitely am like in that working class. I come from a lot of like very like labor heavy jobs, and that's what I also like. I like doing those kind of jobs because I think they're some of the most important jobs in the world. But they do not have a lot of the privileges a lot of other jobs do have, and that includes health insurance. And when you don't have health insurance, especially here in America, the last fucking thing you want to do is have to go to the emergency room for something, or hurt yourself in some way that you're going to be put into like so much fucking debt, right? Anyway, so because of it, you're not really taking care of your body because you're not really paying attention to your body because you're like, I'm fine, I'm young, or this is what I was telling myself. We'll be fine. We'll keep trucking along. We're good. But I will say last year, time caught up to me and burnout caught up to me. I was gifted the opportunity to help unionize my last workplace, like work on the committee, and it was very incredible. But I truly, truly learned like the price that you do pay when you are not taking care of yourself in any way, when you are putting all of your outside, like your focus to outside issues, to outside people, like, just like trying to focus anywhere but inside. Because, I was also in a place where I was like, this is so important. I have to put my everything into it. A lot of other shit was going down at the same time. If you've ever had to cut a narcissist out of your life, you probably fucking know what that's like. So pair that with having to have a super secret job life, working a job on top of a job, and also going up against like major corporations. Anyway, let's get back to it. One thing led to another, and I hit burnout in a way that I have never experienced before. I was just thrown into one of the deepest depressive episodes that I have experienced. And it was the moment that forced me to really look at my mental health and how I was taking care of it. And by that, I mean how I was not like actively taking care of it head on. And I'll tell you what, there's nothing quite as humbling as being pushed to your breaking point where you truly are like, I don't know how. It's like, how do we keep going? How do we keep going? A lot of it came because I was overworking myself, but also I was really radically deconstructing a lot of concepts that we have to exist in, like late stage capitalism. We are in it, and what does it mean to do that? Or not do that, but like have to participate in it. And once you see the belly of the beasts, it's really hard to fucking go back. So existentialism, all that stuff. So I fell flat on my face, and it started my journey back to trying to get to a place of normality. It's been almost about a year, I think, even since I quit that job. And I can say that it has been one of the most influential years of my life. And it's also been one of the hardest years, but also one of the most incredible because, anybody who has faced that kind of extreme understands like what it takes to like get back out of it. And when you do, if you can find a way to be really proud of yourself, like be fucking proud of yourself, so being able to sit with that as well, I think has really helped me. But I will say the thing that I do believe gave me the ability to finally sit and like face my mental health on and understand what kind of person I was basically, or like who I am, was cannabis. I truly, truly think in my experience that being able to use a medicine that can like fast track your body and your nervous system calming down is so, so influential when it comes to healing your mental health, healing your physical body, healing any part of yourself, honestly, because one of the reasons I was so disconnected from my body, which is something that really happens when you are deep in the throes of mental health, because you stop listening to a lot of your body cues because you push it aside. Once you come back to your body and you start actually feeling all of the big feelings that get trapped, all those like old traumas that like live in your body, it's exhausting having to face them. And you have to do so much mental work because facing those kind of things means that you're going to probably be triggered, and you have to figure out ways to maneuver through your mental health moments, whatever they might look like, in a way that is productive. And I mean productive in the sense of you are helping like heal something as best you can. And for me, being able to have something that could focus on my physical body and really bring me back into my physical body, which is something that cannabis does for me, allowed me to face a lot of big fears and a lot of big things I needed to. And honestly, it made it, because it amplifies like your sensations, it made it like so much more incredible, like when I did have these big moments and the wins feel that much better. And um I can function day to day because, even though I took some time off work, I still had to get back to working. And when I finally did, you're still healing while you do that. And I truly believe it has been the medicinal properties of cannabis that have helped me actively heal while having to continue on in life and doing things that can be really hard if you have any sort of neurodivergency and you're trying to operate within this very, very un, mm, not empathetic world. I think that's how I'll put it. So I just actively feel like my life has changed because of it. And the more I learn about it, especially like the science properties, the more I learn about all the different cannabinoids, the more I learn about our endocannabinoid system and the fact that we naturally make cannabinoids. It's really incredible to like start putting together how our nervous system works. And the more we understand that in our brain, we can really start to put a lot of puzzle pieces together and recognize that we come from nature and there are a lot of things in nature that naturally help us with a lot of different issues, because you think of like lavender, we use it to calm us down. It's really great for like aromatherapy. But that's because there's a terpene in lavender called linalool. And that terpene is also found in lavender. Sorry, no. No. Did I say that correctly? Zach's here with me. He's going to keep me on track. What? Did I miss it up?
I believe you said that the terpene found in lavender was also
found in lavender.
I think we know we knew what you meant.
Yeah. Anyway, cannabis and lavender, like for instance, have very similar like genetic makeup. So it's quite something when you can find something very natural, especially if you are another natural baby hippie when you're trying to just like really take care of your body and really try to take care of nature as well. Being able to find something that the earth just naturally gives us is quite something, especially when you start breaking it down and understanding how incredibly therapeutic the plant can be because of all of these different insane compounds that exist within it. Like you think of cannabinoids, which are all these different compounds that focus on different parts of your body. There's over 200 in the cannabis plant, and that's a fuck a ton of them. And we really only know about maybe 5 in a way that we understand what they do. And if 5 out of like 200 or whatnot, or at least 100 plus, like we're just scratching the surface, baby. And we have already like discovered really fucking sick ass things. But one of the things that also comes along with being with it, like in the cannabis community and being interested in the cannabis community, is there is still a lot of stigma around it. There is still a lot of misinformation that is spread about cannabis. There's a lot of systematic issues that like center around cannabis, a lot of like systematic racism issues, and you get a lot of like police violence issues. It's just, it has for too long been looped into a group of drugs that are far, far, far more dangerous than what it is. And to really recognize like why it was looped into all these other like cocaine and fucking more like opioids. What were some of like the most insane, Zach? Like let's think of like what's a really bad drug. We have like heroin, we have cocaine, you have
like crystal meth,
meth,
crack,
yeah,
cocaine. Things that can kill you.
Yes, things that like you can overdose from, quite literally. And then you have cannabis, this little tiny little plant guy that grows naturally, and it's like, I'm just trying to help people chill, and it's just hanging out. But because of that, it is a very underdeveloped industry. It is very new. The cannabis industry, our information is or scientific information rather, like the studies that people do in order to think that like something is very credible. It's important to do those studies. But there has been a lack of funding for so many reasons, and most of it's because of the stigma that has existed for a long time. And I just believe that this plant deserves to be on the front lines when we talk preventative care. And here in America, our health system does not focus on preventative care. We just want to take care of the problem when it arises. But because of it, it's so much more expensive for us to get care because we have to focus on the emergency of the issue when it arises. But if we can have tools, or another tool at least, like outside of diet and exercise and all this stuff, if we can have tools to help us prevent those sort of things happening, like really bad things long term, like cancer, like mental health issues and dementia, like arthritis and all that, or any like autoimmune disease. A lot of autoimmune diseases are focused like within the nervous system, which is very interesting. We'll get into it. There's a lot of wild connections that I'm very excited to share, but it deserves to be on the front lines when people are dealing with some of the hardest things in their life, when medical issues, especially those, because in this country, facing a medical issue means that you could be facing so much debt. And people deserve to have another option to help them maneuver through that system that is incredibly skewed and is a very privileged thing to have access to. So I just kind of wanted to start talking about that, man. This podcast is just kind of going to be about, I'm going to start breaking down like cannabis. We're going to talk about the history of it. We're going to talk about its medicinal uses. We'll talk about like the history of it.
Just to butt in really quickly, I think you're understating a little bit of the qualifications you're bringing to the table. You mentioned that you work in the industry. I think the people deserve, and for your sake, they deserve to know the work that you are doing in the cannabis community, in the city, and in the workforce, and et cetera. So let's get into that a little bit.
Thank you.
Before you wrap up this episode, I think
I'm not good at talking about.
It's time for Callie to brag a little. You've earned it, baby.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so in the last handful of months, I started exploring the industry. And through that, I was able to obtain my medical consultant card, so medical cannabis consultant certification, which was, we had to take a course, and we had to study up and start learning about medicinal cannabis and start learning the science behind it ultimately. And this is what really led me to want to do this, because I wanted to get into the cannabis world, like as a industry, because it has actively changed my life, and to be a part of something that is so incredible, and that is so underappreciated and underfunded and under-researched. If I can help bring attention to that, like I absolutely want to. And the best way to do that is through talking about the medicinal parts of it, and also talking about, there's a lot of, social issues that come up when we talk about cannabis. There's going to be a lot of like political issues. You talk about like foreign affair issues. You talk about like the history, like colonialism. It's all there. It's all there, baby. So it's a community of people, honestly, because I am now part of this community that deserve a lot more credit than they get. Every cannabis user that I know who uses it regularly, like I do, especially medicinally, they're one of the most incredible people you'll ever meet. They're so intelligent. They're so authentic. They know who they are, like fully. They stand in like their energy, their essence. And it's really shitty that so many people get roped into a community that has so many projected ideas and like understandings like put on them and like actively looked down upon, when I'm like, these people are some of the hardest workers you'll ever fucking meet, and they're using cannabis because of that, so I just really want to find a way to bring awareness to it, and especially because it's medicinal and it can really help people. So that's pretty dope. I guess my biggest win right now is I have been helping unionize my current shop that I work at, which is really exciting. And we're going to win our union. We're waiting for our vote. And through that, I have been working closely with the chapter, the UCFW. Is that correct? UFCW. Oh my God. UFCW. We got it. Okay. Can you
The
tell?
local cannabis.
Can you
union.
tell I'm a little high right now? The union that supports cannabis here in Washington State. Go back. We'll rewind. So here in Washington State, we're a very pro-union state. We're very pro workers' rights. We're very pro labor rights. And there are a lot of labor rights that are protected here that are not in a lot of other states. And because of it, there's been it's going off. The phones are going off. But because we are so progressive in that way, we do have a chapter, like a union that represents cannabis shops. And there are a handful here in Seattle, especially, that have already been unionized. The UFCW 3000. Thank you so much. This is embarrassing because I'm working so closely with them. Anyway,
No, that's not embarrassing. It's very new for you still. You have not even started in your role there yet. You're still getting to know these people.
You're right.
You impressed them that much that they went and hired you, barely knowing you. So that's pretty cool.
There you go. All this to say, I ended up getting hired by the Cannabis Union, and I'm going to be starting an apprenticeship where I'm kind of going to learn all the ins and out of what it takes to be a part of that. And I am very excited because it could potentially lead to more of a full-time career, and being able to be a part of like actual activism for a community and for an industry that's about to fucking boom. Because as soon as this is legalized federally, I guarantee it's going to become one of the biggest industries that we have in this country, because there is so much money in cannabis. I can't even begin to tell you. There are over 450 dispensaries in our state alone. You know, I hear some statistics. Let me explain why this is going to be huge. So in our country, 52.5 million people, or about 19% of like Americans, said that they use it at least once a year. And that was in 2021. So if you think on like, that's just within like even states where it's not legal. But in Washington State alone, approximately 58% of adults use cannabis. And this was from 2021, so I guarantee that has gone up. So when I say it's a big industry and it's about to boom, it's going to boom. And because of that, a lot of, greedy little eyes like to look their way towards those kind of things. And it's a industry where you can really, really take advantage of the people who are passionate about it, because it is a safe industry for them to work in. Yet it's a very risky industry to work in because it's still not federally legalized. And because of that, people can run some pretty shitty ships, I'll tell you that much. And I don't believe that that's how this community should be treated. And if I get the opportunity to help stand up for it, which is, it's also my community, I'm going to fucking do it. So I'm going to be taking an apprenticeship, hoping to learn how to be the leader I need to be. And hopefully that can lead to a career in activism, honestly, for a community that really needs it. So, that's kind of who I am. That's why I'm here. Thanks for listening. If you're here, I'm really excited to get into this, because it's gonna be an endless well of like knowledge, because we are going to be talking about things that we are researching right now, like things that we are just starting to understand. So join me. Let's go. Let's get on the fucking train, dude. Life's a journey, man. So let's just let's figure it out. Let's learn about cannabis. Life is so much better if you can feel good while living it,
Let the weed float around in a circle. Oh, oh, oh.